Okay. We are going to start the debate side here. I am going to start asking the questions. Ray will announce your name and party and give you a minute to speak, and you'll hear the chime when you're getting 10 seconds from your from being towards the end of the minute. If at any time any candidate needs me to repeat the questions, please do not hesitate to ask, as I will gladly do so. So here is the first question. On June 4th, 1963, President John F. Kennedy signed Executive Order 1110. This order would return the power to the U.S. government to issue currency without going through the Federal Reserve. Executive Order 1110 gave the United States the ability to create its own money backed by silver. Would you publicize and execute this order so we can compete with and eventually eliminate the Federal Reserve?
Jonathan Allen, Independent. 1 minute.
Don't know enough about the particulars surrounding how easy it would be to effectuate that, but in general, yes, I would be in favor of moving back to having a gold or silver-based monetary system and move us off of having the Federal Reserve behind our currency.
Thank you, Jonathan Allen. Chuck Baldwin, Constitution Party. 1 minute.
Well, as you probably know, Ray, one of my major platform planks is to eliminate the Federal Reserve, to eliminate the Internal Revenue Service, overturn the 16th Amendment, and put America back on sound money principles. I am familiar with the particular executive order you're referring to. I think that particular order, along with a couple other decisions that President Kennedy made, cost him his life. Yes, I do favor the repudiation of the Federal Reserve and the reestablishment of sound money principles. And to help me accomplish that, if I become president, I believe I would like to try and nominate and appoint Congressman Ron Paul as my Secretary of the Treasury to accomplish that, and I believe with his help we could do that indeed.
Thank you, Chuck Baldwin. Frank McAnulty, New American Independent Party. 1 minute.
No, I'm probably going to be the only one that doesn't agree with moving back towards that type of system. I know we're in the middle of a major economic crisis now. It's not as a result, though, of the Federal Reserve. It's in the result of basically a total lack of personal responsibility on everyone involved in the system. And our way of life in America these days would not have occurred without moving off of the gold standard. It was too limiting. It slowed trade down. It kept things too tight. And I don't think anybody would be happy with going back to the old ways. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank McAnulty. Charles J., Boston Tea Party. 1 minute.
Yeah, I support commodities-backed currency. There's nothing worse than fiat currency, and that's obviously connected with the Federal Reserve. It's like printing counterfeit money, except it's worse than counterfeit money because at least with counterfeiters you can catch them and arrest them. These guys operate without any oversight whatsoever, without any accountability. They weren't elected, and they have the ability to flood the marketplace with money, as they're doing now. They're literally creating $1 trillion, and that'll be much, much more before they're finished in literally fake money.
Thank you, Charles J. Brian Moore, Socialist Party. 1 minute.
Well, the Federal Reserve is basically, a for-profit entity controlled by the private sector, and we would rather see nationalization of all banks in the country, and we would want all financial and insurance institutions to be socially owned and operated by a democratically controlled national banking authority, and that would include credit unions and cooperatives and state banks. And
sorry to interrupt. You actually have 2 minutes just in case you want to use that. Excuse me. Sorry.
Okay. So, we would really reject the continuing use of Federal Reserve, but not turn to the solution that's being proposed, rather that we would have basically a government takeover of the financial sector and then, for example, delegate the distribution of home loans in a very decentralized way through the institutions that I propose, or our party proposes, such as credit unions and the like.
Thank you, Brian Moore. We'll now go backwards through in case anybody wants to enhance or rebut any comments of the other candidates. Charles J., Boston Tea Party, 1 minute.
Okay, thanks. And in case I don't get the opportunity to say this later on, what tremendous news we've gotten over the last 24 hours. You know, I'm sure a lot of people out there listening have gotten calls from their bank claiming routine calls, asking questions about the nature of their transactions, quote unquote, just in case the government ever wants to do an audit of these things. Well, you know, we don't have to worry about that anymore, do we? When the government's taking over banks, all they've got to do is click a mouse and they'll be able to monitor each and every one of your financial transactions. What a great day for America.
Thank you, Charles J. Frank McAnulty, New American Independent Party, 1 minute.
The other main problem with us moving to a gold or silver, back to a gold or silver standard, would be that we'd be doing it alone in the world, which would immediately put us at an extreme disadvantage in our economy. I believe it would cause massive depression, massive unemployment, and take years, if not decades, to work ourselves out of the hole we dig by changing arbitrarily our system to not match that of the rest of the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank McAnulty. Chuck Baldwin, Constitution Party, 1 minute.
Well, I just simply stand by what I've said already. I do believe very much that the reason why we are in the malaise that we are in today economically is because we have forfeited the Founding Fathers' vision in terms of the economy. Article 1, Section 8 is very clear as to what kind of economy the founders intended that this country institute. And we repudiated that whenever we created the Federal Reserve System in 1913. When we went off of sound money and introduced fiat money to the American people, we began, in my opinion, all of this that we're now seeing. The Federal Reserve has superintended over several recessions, a Great Depression. It is now in the process of superintending over perhaps the greatest economic collapse in modern memory. And I believe that the only sound money principles.
Thank you, Chuck Baldwin. Jonathan Allen, Independent, 1 minute.
I pretty much concur with Dr. Baldwin on his assessment of things. I would just add that on top of the Federal Reserve Treasury question that you set before us tonight, there is the government managing money rather than the Federal Reserve. The situation has only been exacerbated by the greed potential, of course, that we've seen happen. And now that we've got fiat money and the Federal Reserve, the combination has created a context for greed and other interests other than the national good to come into full play. And I believe that's obviously what's led us to the crisis that we're seeing right now.
Thank you, Jonathan Allen.